We know the statistics, we know the zoning maps, but what we rarely hear are the voices. These are your neighbors, veterans, grandmothers, tradesmen, all of them navigating the collapse of housing affordability, right here in our town. Who is struggling? This crisis doesn't belong to one group. It doesn't have one face. The people in this story are the builders, seniors who constructed this community but can no longer afford to age here. They are the protectors, veterans and first responders priced out of the town they serve. They are the future, young professionals forced to leave or move back into childhood bedrooms. And they are the workforce, full-time employees working multiple jobs, still facing homelessness. Look around you. These are your neighbors. The full-time worker, the fixed income. A man in his 70s, still working full-time. But when the workday ends, he doesn't go home. He sleeps in the woods. An 84-year-old woman left the state to find housing she could afford. When she came back, there was nothing. She now lives in her car, a lifetime of labor, ending in homelessness. The solution is illegal. Here's something that should stop us cold. A woman in her 80s owns 4 acres of land. She wants to sell her home to her daughter and build a small cottage, a place to age with family nearby. A simple human solution. But in Wallingford, it's illegal. Current zoning prohibits detached accessory dwelling units, so the land sits empty. The daughter can't move in, and a senior who just wants to stay close to family cannot. We used to believe that if you worked hard, you'd be okay. That belief is breaking down. A tradesman who owned a business his whole life is now being evicted. His Social Security check doesn't cover rent. A single mother, a paraprofessional working 3 jobs, faced eviction after a medical crisis. She reached out to the town, the state, federal agencies. No one could help. Tonight, she is sleeping in the home of a church member. Employment is no longer a shield. The math defeats the multi-income family. A family of 6, 3 full-time incomes, 15 years of mortgage payments, and they still lost the house. They were forced into a small apartment in a neighboring town. Across town, a 70-year-old man with a disability had lived in the same apartment his entire adult life. When the building sold, he was evicted. Unable to navigate the system alone, he became homeless. We are failing those who serve us. A military family returns from service. They have savings. They're ready to settle down, but they can't find a rental. They live in an RV in a backyard. Eventually, they're forced to buy a home an hour away, far from the family support system they came home to find. Meanwhile, a family with 2 first responder salaries spends a year in a relative's basement. They lose bid after bid. They finally get a home, small, in need of major repairs, using a VA loan. These are the people who protect us, and we are failing them. The exodus of the next generation. 2 college graduates came back to Wallingford. They wanted to build their lives here, but the rent kept climbing until they couldn't hold on. They gave up their apartment and moved back into their childhood homes. They're not alone. 60% of young adults under 34 are being financially supported by their families, at an average cost of $1,450 a month. And those who can scrape together enough for a down payment? They're buying in neighboring towns, taking their tax dollars and their futures somewhere else. The hidden density. People opposed to new housing often worry about density. Here's what they may not realize. The density is already here. 8 adults living in a 3-bedroom house. Families converting living rooms and dining rooms into sleeping quarters, just to survive. Wallingford already has high density. It is just unregulated, uncomfortable, and hidden behind the doors of single-family homes. Systemic failure 1, the voucher gap. A woman holds a housing voucher worth $1,450 a month. She lives in a 250-square-foot apartment, no kitchen. When her landlord raised the rent by $50, the voucher no longer covered it. She is being evicted. Even government assistance cannot bridge the gap to the lowest-tier housing available in this town. Systemic failure 2, the empty rooms. A retired couple has an in-law apartment attached to their home, sitting empty. They want to rent it to someone in need, but for years they believed zoning rules prohibited them from renting to non-family members. They never did. The unit sat vacant. A home that could have housed someone in crisis, locked away by confusion and regulatory opacity. Ambiguous policies are creating artificial scarcity. Systemic failure 3, the regional lag. Story after story in this deck ends the same way. We bought in a neighboring town. Why? Because those towns invested in affordable housing. Because they built more options. Wallingford is exporting its workforce, its young families, its veterans, its essential workers, to communities with better housing policies. And with them go their taxes, their energy, and their civic life. These are our neighbors. The 84-year-old living in her car, the veteran family in a backyard RV, the tradesman facing eviction, 8 people crowded into a 3-bedroom house, the college graduate back in their childhood bedroom, the senior sleeping in the woods. This is not a crisis of the other. This is a crisis affecting the very people who built this town, who protect it, and who sustain it every single day. We can choose a different ending. One resident put it simply, "I worked my whole life, then everything fell apart." The barriers are clear: zoning restrictions, ADU prohibitions, insufficient inventory. The need is undeniable. What remains is a choice. It is time to align our policies with our humanity. Wallingford works for housing, and it's time our housing works for Wallingford.